that in as much as a man is masculine, there's also a female aspect to a man. That's what determines how he's going to treat you as a woman. Now, the biggest attack for a man is when he can't provide for his wife and his children. Then that darkness comes. Listen here, I can't even provide for my wife. What kind of a man am I? And that's when your masculinity gets attacked. And these married men that are home dads, I feel sorry for them. I want them to come out and tell the truth. They feel a woman staying at home and not working is actually more beneficial for marriage than a woman that is working. As a man, you need to be gymming. You need to go to the gym. You must be having a minimum of 7 hours sleep a day. And you mustn't drink a lot. You can drink maybe a little bit here and there. And stay away from the hard stuff. That, in as much as it's also a spiritual thing, the physical aspect of a man's life also determines who he is.
Hi everyone, my name is Tanya Boyson and welcome to the Come Up series. I'm here with my lovely co-host Rwanda Jacobs, and our guest today is Garry Adolph, and we will be talking about the stigma that society has placed on men's mental health. So men are always expected to be strong, stoic, and self-sufficient, which makes it difficult for them to acknowledge their struggles and ask for help. Mental stigma also makes men feel ashamed and weak for struggling with their mental issues, and furthermore prevents them from seeking help.
That's so true, Tanya. That's so true. So welcome again, Garry, and thank you for doing this episode with us.
Pleasure. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so Garry, tell us a bit about yourself and why was this topic, men's mental health, a topic that you were interested in discussing in today's episode with us?
Okay, I'll start off by telling a little bit about myself. I come from a family that has got a lot of musical talent, a lot of intellectual talent. All my uncles and aunts are educated people. My father, who I looked up to, actually hero worshipped my dad. I only found out afterwards, by the way, that he was actually a very highly qualified man. Why I wanted to speak about mental health and men's health is that the world is really confused at the moment now. During my time, women didn't have the expectation of marrying a man that has a big salary or is, making lots of money. Women were more along the lines of, I'm going to meet the right person, we're going to connect on an emotional and spiritual level, and then we're going to bow together. But in the current situation that we have now, a lot of women feel that because they feel they're attractive, they're more confident. In old days, women weren't that confident on how attractive they are. They believe that they can put a value to the kind of man that they want. And the sad thing about it is that you can't do it now, because right now women are sort of they're sort of the cream at the moment, in terms of job opportunities, in terms of salaries, obviously to make up for the unfairness and what males did years ago. So it seems like the newer generation are paying for what the males that are long gone, buried 6 feet underground, they're basically paying for that. And it's created a problem because now you have a whole lot of men that are single that don't want a girlfriend. And then you have all these girls that are looking for, some sort of to spend the rest of their life with somebody, because, it gets lonely when you get older. A lot of women don't know this, but it's a fact. If you don't have somebody when you grow older, you're going to be a nasty woman. You're going to be very angry and all the time. So the thing is that's a situation where we find ourselves in now. And unfortunately, all eyes are on women and their rights, but they've forgotten about males and their rights as well. And that's why I wanted to speak about this men's mental health, because even myself, even though I'm married to a very good woman, a Proverbs 31 woman, I still went through a lot of tragedy in my life, a lot of unfairness in my life, which is part and parcel of being a believer, because we need to carry our cross. I struggled, and I believe that if you go through hardship and you go through tough times, that the only way to add value is to speak about it and to inform people and give them the education. They can take from it what they want, but rather than them having to go through the same challenges, they can circumvent certain challenges, making their walk a little bit easier.
Okay. I like that you said, speak about it. You can't, there's a saying that they say you can't heal what you don't expose. So if you keep it up, if you keep whatever you're going through inside, it's going to eat you and you're not going to get help to deal with it. So how do you expose? By talking about it, coming out and talking to people about, oh, well, like the safe space, obviously, where you can seek help and get the necessary help for whatever you're going through. Yes, Sonia?
That's very true.
Mm.
I'm saying that's very true. And especially if you don't speak about it, then you keep it eternally. And then some people get sick as well. So it's actually advisable to speak about what you're going through, and especially with someone that you can trust. So our second question for you is, how do you handle pressure in the sales field? And have you ever had a low point in your life? And how have you overcome it?
Okay, so in the sales field, I work for a very good company. You can so let's start with sales first of all. So sales, everybody does sales. So don't believe the hype that nobody does sales. You do sales every day of your life. When you meet somebody, you're basically selling that person an idea of the way you think life is, and you sell that person an aspect or a facet of who you are. So sales is it's not a specialized thing. It's just with a sales position, you take it to the next level. So we all do sales. The first form of sales that you basically have is when you're a baby and you need your mom to feed you or you need your mom to clean you. The cry that comes out of your mouth, that is a form of sales. It's like, listen, I need you to give me this because remember, you are getting something in return for nothing because that's really what sales is. You understand? You're getting something in return for, I mean, they're giving you something and you giving them nothing. You're basically just saying, you know what I mean? So the thing is, sales, first of all, sales is everywhere, it's every day. When Ramaphosa goes on the news and he does a sauna, that's a sales pitch. Facts. Okay. Although his sales pitch, in my opinion, was very poor, the fact of the matter still is it was a sales pitch, right? So in light of sales, you need to work for a very good company. A lot of people think that it is the sales individual that maketh the company. I'm of the opinion that it's what the company makes. To speak a little bit about the personal challenges you're having in life. So I know a lot of guys on the media and a lot of guys say you must never personally invest yourself at a company. But the reality is if you don't, okay, you're not going to succeed. Where do you spend most of your time? You spend most of your time at the company. You don't spend it at your house. So where else can you have that personal investment? And this brings me to why you become a good salesperson. A good salesperson is made up of a great support network, okay, and also a great product. So the product that we sell is probably the best product, in my opinion, on the market that I work. There were sales guys that were amazing. They were really good, but they were really good until a hurdle came along. And because they didn't know how to circumnavigate that hurdle, they'd leave the company and go to another one. So they move from company to company to company to company. So they ride this wave of where they're really good. And as soon as they get a hurdle, and the reason why they did that is because of the support. They didn't have the correct support. Because when you fall, you need somebody to pick you up. And that's where your background, your foundation in terms of the support team behind you is it helps you. So in as much as sales, a lot of people are like, hey, you're doing well in your sales. Like for instance, me, I had a stellar year last year. I exceeded all my expectations. I did exceptionally well. The previous year as well, in my first year as well, I did exceptionally well. This year, my start hasn't been as good as it is, but I can see already things are starting to happen, and I'll most likely have an even better year this year. And it's not because of the hard work I put in, because that's a given. That's because of the great team behind me. And that's really what it is. The core focus should be on the unit. There's that saying that says teamwork makes the dream work, you know? And it's so true because it's a whole teamwork environment. And that's the beauty of the company that I'm currently working for now. Whereas your bigger conglomerates, because they are focused more on numbers, they are focused more on standard operating procedures, SOPs, they lose that mutualism, that connection, that symbiosis, that synergy. They lose that because what happens is that it's now just that person isn't a person anymore. That person is just a number of a couple of thousand. And the family feel comes from one person. It's actually the managing director. Because Rob is the kind of guy that will actually tell you, I'm not interested in hearing about work stuff. How are you doing? And that's what he did with me yesterday because I was in a bad space yesterday. Obviously, things happened. My wife wasn't well. And, it was just one of those days where you don't have the same energy levels. And he has important things to do. And he parks his car and he's like, Gary, come and talk to me. And I start speaking to him and stuff like that. And those are the things. That's what makes a great salesperson. Because the talent is there for everybody. You don't require special abilities and talent.
I would say like it when you mentioned the support system, because you do need that in the workplace today. And that actually brings a good working environment that you're open and that you can speak to your managers and ask for advice. and that you're not
Okay.
just seen as a number, and you just have all this pressure on you and you don't know which way to go. And it's true what you say. When you don't have the support system, people just leave because
Yes.
they don't, they're not being heard. They
Yes.
feel like no one's listening to them and no one's helping them, and they
That,
are working hard, and that's why you were employed in the first place, because they saw your potential and they saw how that you have the skills and that you are able to do the job. So I like what you said.
So what do you think is the number one issue that leads to depression for men?
the number one issue,
Mm.
not being able to fulfill your purpose. That's the number one issue, your purpose. So I can speak from I went through, of those people that have had a very, very difficult life, both when I was single and when I was married. And I'm one of the guys that gave my life to Christ based on a fairy tale. So lives a very hard life because of people and jealousy. So I don't know how to explain this to you, but I have the uncanny ability of mastering something very fast. And people didn't like that when I was young. So what would happen is that when I was very young, I composed a few music tracks and I did some extra work, and I created a lot of jealousy and things like that. And these are God-given abilities that I was given, God-given talent, that created a lot of animosity with people. And it was really hard for me because I couldn't understand. Wait, I understand. I work off that principle that for each action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. But yeah, this action wasn't an equal and opposite reaction. It wasn't a physical law. It was more like a spiritual attack or something. So what would happen is that people would see naturally, hey, this guy is very talented. And then I had experiences as well in the space of women. You guys don't realize this, but the biggest bullies I've had in my life are women. As a youngster, I had women grabbing and kissing me and doing stuff to me. And then when I would push them away,
Guys, what I'm seeing nowadays is that a lot of men are actually coming out and saying that they have, firstly, the reason why they're so promiscuous is that they have been molested at a young age. Like their innocence has also been taken by like an older woman as well, like misleading them, touching them, and like literally opening up their innocent mind to sexual perversion. And then
yes,
that launches into them being promiscuous. And like society has programmed men to be like, no, that's now you a man, you know.
Yeah.
That young boy's mind wasn't ready for that level
no,
of responsibility of sex.
kind of different.
It was
So when you're younger, you experience that way. You can't retaliate back when the opposite, the fairer sex, does anything to you. Now, when you get married, you're in a different boat. Now it's a different ball game, and this is where you experience. I think if you're not married, I think it's easier to circumnavigate life. But once you're married, then it becomes really challenging. So as a married man, your duty is to provide for your wife. And there's a scripture in the Bible that stipulates and purely points out that you need to look after your wife the way Jesus looks after the church. Okay. So what does that mean? That means dying to self every day. And it's very difficult when you look at what the media shows. So there are these guys called the Red Pill movement, extremely intelligent guys, but a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, don't want to heal. They don't want to heal because the enemy has got them to believe that they are right. But because they are not built on the foundations of the Bible, they're not reading the Bible. They build their foundations on what they believe, or they take out of the Bible what they want and they ignore what Jesus said, right? That they attack women, they look down on women, they tell women like, and they're brilliant. Their arguments are exceptionally good. They got very good arguments. My thing is this. This is what I learned from a guy called Howard Hewitt. He's a musician. He said that the way a woman works, right, is if you give a woman seed, she gives you a child. Do you understand? That's how a woman works. So the way I understand the way a woman works is whatever you give her, she will give back to you. So if you give her garbage, right, she'll give you garbage back. If you give her beautiful things, like even my wife, if I treat her, and there's that saying, happy wife, happy life, I don't believe that. I believe it's happy wife, happy me. Because a true man, I believe, in my opinion, is a man that sees his wife happy. There's no better feeling than seeing his wife happy. And nobody wants to talk about that. But that's a fact. My dad, I saw it with my mother. When your wife is happy, you're at your happiest. So now where does the downside come? When does it really go down? So in the case of me, I can only speak about myself. I had a lot of tragedy hit me in terms of retrenchment. Companies that I've worked for, where the shareholders make bad decisions. And unfortunately, the shareholders are always protected, right? But the capital, the human capital at the bottom, the subordinates, they get affected by the decisions made higher up. And I was retrenched about twice in a space of like a year. You understand? Now, the biggest attack for a man is when he can't provide for his wife and his children.
Mm.
So the enemy will say to you, you know what? You're actually useless, eh? You can't even provide for your wife. And when that comes, then that darkness comes. Listen here, I can't even provide for my wife. What kind of a man am I? And that's when your masculinity gets attacked. And that's what you have to deal with. And that's the scary thing about being married. There is not a single married man that can tell. The biggest thing for a married man is to provide. These married men that are home dads, I feel sorry for them. I want them to come out and tell the truth. They feel worthless. I'm telling you now, providing financially is what edifies men. So if you a stay-at-home dad and your wife is making the money, you're very strong. Then I'll put my hands up and I'll say, you know what, then I'm a weak male. Because it doesn't make sense. Because if you go into the Bible and you read the Bible, you'll hear that when you're reading, you'll hear it. Because remember, when you read, you hear it inside your head, right? People don't realize that. People say reading, but when you read softly, you hear it in your head. Okay? You will hear that God has made the man the provider. He's the head of the home. He's the high priest in his house. That's how it works. So if you are not fulfilling that function in your house, then the enemy can come and blow you around like he wants to. And that's where we're at the moment, like in the world. It's bad.
Garry, do you think social media has a negative impact on men's mental health as well?
Yes. Do you
And
want me to elaborate on that? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you elaborate on that? What do you think affects them when they going through social media? Do you think it affects how to live as a man these days from how men lived back in the days and how they manage their mental health? How do you think it's different from today, from the 1980s or so, or 1990s?
Whatever you do now is available for everybody to see. Those years when men were beating women, which is a reality, nobody could speak about it. So I'll give you two aspects. From my side, I think it's important that that's happening now needs to happen. I don't know if you know, like, let's say, for instance, you have a saw to get all that mark out. We have to go through what we're going through now so that we can get to where the healing can really start. I know in the old days, if a man did something wrong or beat his wife, there was nothing to expose him. You understand? Now you can expose. So the media, but over and above that, Walt Disney and all those cartoon networks and all that stuff, they're also behind a lot of men losing their masculinity. And masculinity has become sort of a weapon now for feminists to use to impose on men and to put them down. But masculinity is a good thing because that's where a woman's protection. You must remember, a man is created to protect a woman and provide for a woman, carrier. You understand, in terms of when there's a war that happens or anybody comes to attack your house, you must feel protected by your man. You understand? So the thing is, but the cartoon networks and all those networks, they would always portray men as being very weak. I mean, even as far as going in the movies, try to portray Jesus as a weak man. And they made it look like it was something like weak. Jesus was never weak. Jesus was never weak, never ever. Jesus was the kind of guy that he was so gifted. He knew when to be masculine and he knew when to be neutral. You understand?
So in terms of success, right? If each person has a different meaning for what success is. So do you think society has put added pressure on what a man's success should look like in today's world?
Let's not beat around the bush. It's not society, it's the enemy. Let's get to it straight. Give you what a successful man is in my eyes. A successful man in my eyes realizes that he serves a great God and that no matter what happens to him, he must glorify God. That's a successful man. What the enemy does is the enemy wants to quantify it. You'll see that God doesn't quantify success. The enemy quantifies success. God doesn't. God looks at quality. The enemy looks at quantity. Right? God looks at the journey. The enemy looks at result. Okay. So let's go back to the quantification now, the quantity. Okay. So in terms of success in the world, how many degrees you've got, what the size of your bank balance, how much money you have, how many women you have, how many followers you have, that kind of stuff, right? That's the enemy. God is like, something really bad happens to you. How are you going to deal with it? Quality. a kind of success. That's what success. So let's look at myself. Would I regard myself as a successful man? I would say not yet. Okay. Because it's a journey and it's constant. And whenever you, as a believer, because you've chosen to carry your cross, okay, you think, oh, this is the worst I've ever experienced in my life. And then guess what? It's like when you play games, you get to the next level, right? You get the boss at the next level and
Yeah.
boom, you understand?
And
The
you're
thing
like,
is,
it was nothing. This is like something.
exactly.
Yeah.
When I matriculated, I thought matric was the worst. When I got to varsity, my first paper that I wrote, I got like 20%. I was like, oh my word, this is the worst. You know, and then you get to work, and then you get to marriage, and then you get to having children, and then you get to, you know, lots of stuff. My dad's death, the way my father passed away, that was like a really, that hit me. Because like I said, I hero worship my dad. Nobody was better than my dad.
So you are saying that success is based on your journey and how you overcome it, not just earthly things and your position and your what you call your status and how much money you have in the bank. Basically, your character as a person and your morals and your values and how you live your life with integrity as well.
Correct. Obeying God's commandments, dying, believing, trusting in God. That's ultimate success. Dying a godly.
Men's issues often stem from societal expectations and traditional gender roles. Do you think hybrid jobs for women and working from home will strengthen marriages and allowing traditional roles to take place?
That's a very difficult question because a lot of my opinion is going to come. So I would say that I've bitten a bit of the red pill. You know, the red pill movement, I've bitten a bit of it because I've seen it in society and I've seen it in my life and my mom and dad. Okay. So right now with the cost of living being so high, a woman needs to work, unfortunately. Right? And if a woman doesn't work, you won't survive. However, I saw that in society, so that if a woman doesn't work and she looks after her kids and raises her kids, there is some credence to that. You know, there is some good to that. And you know, there's a song by a group called The Whispers. They used to say a woman's place is in the kitchen. I remember years ago when my dad would play that song, my mom would get angry. My mom was a principal, so she was a working woman, you know. But my mom, because of her belief in God, she never disrespected my father. But there were issues that they would have, especially when it came to making decisions financially. It's just much harder if both parties are working to make decisions. You understand? And this is my opinion. There's good to a woman being independent, but a lot of women, you'll struggle. You'll struggle to get a man. And men are intimidated by a woman that's independent, that can fend for herself, that if you upset her, she can get into a car and she can drive off. Or, you know what I mean? And that's the reason why so many women are having difficulty getting men, because they're fiercely independent, and 99% of the time, they're probably going to earn more than that guy. You understand? So, in my understanding of this whole gender fluidity and all of that, I think that it's something, like I said to you earlier on, it's something we have to go through and then find, because there's place for everything. There's no solution to it. We have to go through it. Oh, like I said to you, I've bitten off a little bit of the red pill, and I feel that a woman staying at home and not working is actually more beneficial to a marriage than a woman that is working. You understand?
Yeah, because lately with us now, we're actually feeling the pressure as well. So you're thinking, it would actually be so nice to be a housewife right now, because it's nice to be independent, but at the same time, it becomes so, I don't know, like the pressure is too much and it becomes tiring. And you're just thinking at the same time, you want to have your own family, but you want to be there for your kids as well. So basically, working at home would also be nice, or having a hybrid job and then just having time for your kids, time for your husband, and just being feminine in the same way, because these days we are more in our masculine energy than being in our feminine energy. So our generation it's kind of, we're going into that, like we want to also be that stay-at-home mom, but based on the economy now, we can also work from home or do hybrid jobs. It's just I don't know, changing the workplace of how women are working.
Yeah, we have to work. We have to go through it. There's no perfect answer for that question. We have to just work through it.
Yeah.
There's no perfect answer. They might.
So what would you say are some ways women, wives, sisters, girlfriends, mothers can help men overcome depression? If they are aware that maybe their husband or their son or their friend that's male is going through depression, how is we as a gender, female gender, how can we help and assist?
You see, that question has many answers, right? I can tell you, as women as mothers are the best thing. Women as mothers, they are fantastic. So in terms of women as mothers, when it comes to their depression aspect, they're exceptionally good. Where they fail is as wives. They fail visibly. The thing is, the world makes it look really bad if you are vulnerable. That's why I've even gotten to the point, before I talk to a lady or somebody, I say to them, can I be very vulnerable with you? I actually have to prepare them and say, listen, I'm going to be vulnerable now. Whereas it should just be something where you can just speak about it. You understand? Vulnerability. So with a man, what they need to understand is that in as much as a man is masculine, there's also a female aspect to a man, because that's what determines his sensitivity. That's what determines how he's going to treat you as a woman. So I just think that, from a girlfriend perspective, I feel you don't have to do anything. This is my opinion. If you're dating a guy, you're not married to the guy. There's no obligation for you. What you should be doing when you are dating somebody is you should be looking at two things, really. You should just be looking at whether you guys are a fit spiritually, very important, spiritually. And then secondly, you need to be with somebody that you know, if the feces hit the fan, that that person's got your back. That's it. People go for looks, people go for security, wrong. Go for somebody that you know, if there's a war, this guy's going to stand in front of the bullets for me, type of thing, right? So from a girlfriend perspective, you don't have to worry about that. But from a woman, a wife perspective, it's very important. You've been given the gift of nurturing. God has sort of ordained you. God has given you that mantle. You should never allow your husband to get to a point where he needs to be vulnerable. You should actually see it before it happens. You can see it, because what people don't tell you is that when you are with a woman and you make love to that woman and you guys become one, it's a reality. It's not a lie. It's not a physical thing. You must remember the enemy through pornography and through all these movies with the sexual scenes, they make it physical because that's what the enemy wants. It's not. It's a spiritual thing. You become one. That's what God meant by becoming one. To know someone. In the Bible, they refer to know someone, because you guys become one. So when you guys are together, you glorify God together. So the thing is, why must you tell your wife, look, I'm vulnerable? Your wife should pick it up automatically. And that's where the problem comes in, because some wives don't. Then you ask yourself the question, why? And here's my opinion. She's not all in. I can't say it any other way. She's not all in. That means she's not giving all of herself to the marriage. And this is where I can speak from my perspective, and I can say that when I got married, I'm all in. With my wife as well, she's also all in. But sometimes she's going through her issues. Sometimes she's going through her challenges. But she knows when I'm not well. Because she will, in her own way, she will write like a WhatsApp message and say, sweetheart, I'm praying for you today. You have a better day. I just hope things are. And then she will have like peanuts or chocolates or something. She just add something extra to my food and things like that. And that's what you do as a wife. So that in an answer to your question, simply summarize. For each, it's different. As a mother, women hit it. Women have mastered it. They hit that bullseye every time. From a girlfriend perspective, you shouldn't be worried about it. You don't go all in as a girlfriend. The girlfriend stage is purely you just checking what's out there and you're making a decision, right? Once you're married, go all in. Don't go in half-half. If you go in half-half, your marriage is not going to work out. You must go all in. All in. All in or nothing as well. And I don't know if you want to put this in your write-up.
Yes.
You need, as a man, you need to be gymming. You need to go to the gym. You must be having a minimum of 7 hours sleep a day. And you mustn't drink a lot. You can drink maybe a little bit here and there. And stay away from the happy stuff. Stay away from the big stuff. So what I'm basically saying to you is that in as much as it's also a spiritual thing, the physical aspect of a man's life also determines who he is. You understand? So I just wanted to say that there. So you guys can put that in as well. That it's not just the spiritual, it's the physical thing as well. You need to look after your health. You need to be both physically and mentally and spiritually. Okay? And thank you so much for your time. God bless you, ladies. Continue doing the great job that you are doing.
Okay. Thank you so much, Garry. Like, you have shared so many valuable and insightful nuggets with us today. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing this with us. And I think you spoke so well and you did this topic justice. Yes. Talia, do you have any closing words?
No, nothing at all. You can leave it off.
Yeah. So guys, if you are going through a difficult time, you can visit the SEDEC South Africa depression and anxiety group website. It gives you the contact numbers. If you know of anyone who's suicidal, if you are struggling with mental health, there's mental health contact information there. And for people who's struggling with substance abuse, contact numbers are also there to help and assist in regards to that. So yes, we will link all the information. We will see you guys in the next episode. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.